All right. Well, welcome to Sawyer Paddles and Oars Live once again. It's a beautiful August day here. We're enjoying just a little bit of a cool down before we run into the completely baking weekend where it looks like we're going to have, because we're gonna go triple digits and maybe even hit the 110 mark here in Southern Oregon. So definitely a little hot for the fishing, but definitely a perfect time to get out on the water. And today we are actually going to be talking a lot about getting out on the water, because today we're talking with Sean from Boulder Boat Works. And before I get too far along, just want to remind folks that this is pre-recorded, so you put your comments out there on the comment bar, and we will be following that up, and we'll be answering your questions, and the Boulder Boat folks will as well. So please continue to put your comments in the comment bar there, and we'll get to them as we come through it. And now I'll turn it over to Sean to give us a little intro on Boulder Boats. Take it away, Sean.
Hey, thanks for the intro, Zach. Yeah, excited to be here. Excited to sit down and chat with you guys a little bit about boats and oars and everything outdoors. Just like we were speaking to a little bit earlier, it's been, kind of on the, I guess, in the throes or moving towards the tail end of pretty good fishing season down here in Colorado. Our shop, where I'm at right now, we're based out of Carbondale, Colorado, which is right on the Roaring Fork River. We're about 15 miles from the confluence into the lower section of the Colorado River, as we call it in Colorado. And yeah, been a great season so far for the industry as a whole. I think that, post-COVID, I know that we've been staying in touch with a lot of local fishing guides and manufacturers like Sawyer and ourselves. And it just seems like right now a lot of people are, excited to opt outdoors and have taken that opportunity over the course of the year. So we're jamming away at the shop, building boats, both our dory profile as well as this year. We launched a new skiff profile, which we're pretty jacked about. It's been well received after a couple of years of R&D. So it's been, a real great year to really see that kind of come to fruition and be firing live bullets, so to speak, making boats that are getting out and being guided out of, being recreated with. And we're pretty excited about that. And, I'll dig into that a little bit later about what we switched up and what's going on with the new profile. But, I guess without prompting any questions, Zach and I, in advance of this conversation, talked a little bit about, what we can speak to and what might be interesting to everybody out there on the Facebook Live airwaves. And I guess I'll dive into a little bit of history on the company, if that's okay with you, Zach.
Yeah, let's, basically just kind of letting folks know we're going to cover kind of the Boulder Boat Works as far as their operation and where they are and kind of what differentiates their boats from some of the other boats out there in the industry. And then we'll also dig into a little bit of the history. Sawyer and Boulder have had a long time history. And of course, we'll talk about the specific oars that tend to be the flavor that work well with your guys' boats and what you guys prefer. And then we'll also talk a little bit about just different fisheries. Sawyer's always been known as a company that really uses the stuff that we actually sell. And, our entire sales team are pretty much all ex-guides at one point and definitely avid river users. And quite a few of us are anglers, but also we have folks that are just kind of more on the whitewater side. And as far as just in talking to you guys, I know that the ownership prior to you guys was kind of very passionate about just kind of being able to design those boats and get out and use them. And then also just talking with you guys in the little bit of time that we've met is just kind of that whole element seems to still be there, where you guys are very avid about getting out on the water with your products. And that's very key. That really ties into the company really well. So we'll cover that a little bit, and then also just kind of some of the things that are going on in your area, and give people a little update on the forest fire that's sparked up there near your area. And then also, definitely reiterating the fact that, it's definitely the time for folks to get into the outdoors. And definitely this COVID era has really kind of shown us that you know, the outdoor industry is just completely overwhelmed with folks that are new to the sports and first time purchasers of boats and kayaks and stand-up paddle boards. And it's kind of like where people have had a lot of mass gatherings that have been canceled, and people are kind of reaching out to the outdoors as places to go get some relief with their family and get together with real close friends. And, you know, socially distanced in the outdoors is one of the easy things to do. So we'll definitely dive into that a little bit. But yeah, why don't we dive into the history a little bit, and then we'll have Shishka queue up one of the videos. If you want to start one of those videos, we can do that as well.
Yeah, or maybe I'll touch on the history a little bit, then we kind of get into the profiles. We'll have Shishka fire up the video.
Sure.
So Boulder Boats, we've been making boats for 20 years. The company was founded by a self-proclaimed hard-charging hippie, Andy Toohey, 20 years ago. Andy's a real good friend of mine, you know, and still real close to the company, you know, on both a personal and professional level, just because of, you know, he is a great boat manufacturer and a guy that, you know, we're all big fans of history here, and there's no better way to learn, you know, than from good friends and good relationships. So, you know, Andy remains, you know, very much, you know, part of who we are. But anyways, 20 years ago, Andy was rowing, committed to rowing wood boats. You know, he preferred wood over any other material that was an option. And it just got to a point where, you know, he was turning that boat over every few weeks, you know, repairing it, you know, reglassing it, and having to maintain that boat like any other wood boat has to do. And he had a group of friends that would sit and drink coffee every morning, and they challenged him to find a better material, right? And long story short, he landed on the material that we use today, which is a high-density polyethylene. So we're the only drift boat manufacturer that's making boats out of this material right now. And that really kind of makes up who we are and gives some pretty strategic advantages, in our opinion, to, you know, effectively navigating the river, to opening the river up, and, you know, what happens when you encounter rocks, areas of the river that you can go, as well as, you know, the longevity and, you know, throughout the life cycle of the boat. So that polymer, which is a high-density polyethylene, like I mentioned, is just extremely lightweight. So we're about 200 pounds less fully built out from the majority of fiberglass boats out there. So that has a significant advantage, you know, you talk kind of on the scale weight. But in addition to that, you know, when you're rowing that boat, the polymer has a natural buoyancy. So it wants to move to the top of that water column, and it's really slick. So it's a really fast boat, you know, so it's less taxing on the oarsmen, you know, just pulling the sticks, pulling the Sawyer oars all day. So it allows you to just be more effective, you know, fishing day in, day out with that boat. In addition to that lightweight advantage, when it encounters a rock, it doesn't bang or crash. It's not an abrasive impact. It has a little bit of flex and give. So when you're hitting a rock, it's super slick and slippery, and it's not sticking and pocking on that rock. So you can slide, you know, relatively quietly, you know, into skinnier sections of the river, and do that without breaking down your boat, right? The boat's pretty bomb-proof.
Right.
Yeah, a couple
And
weeks.
That's a lot of what, you know, I mean, those are some of the elements that people look for, kind of coming from that wood boat side, right? It's the wood boat, the glass boat, and your guys' boat. Those people are really looking to have that quiet boat experience.
No doubt.
You know, the basically being able to sneak up on fish. And, you know, I mean, of course, as you know, we're out here in aluminum world out here in the West. You know, I mean, it's like you can't swing a bat without hitting an aluminum boat manufacturer. But they're definitely, you know, there's a full spectrum of that, of those kind of the quiet boats. And, you know, a lot of them are built of glass, and there's still wood boat guys out there. You know, we have a lot of outfitters that's kind of their signature, where they run wooden boats. And so your guys' boat really seems to cross into that realm of kind of giving some of those features of the wood and glass boat, but more durability and lightweight. And
No doubt.
doesn't
Yeah,
hurt you. You can hit a few rocks if you have to.
yeah, it's but it's nice to also have those aesthetics, right? There's character in boats, and there's culture, and there's history, and something you want to be proud of, when you put in the water. I mean, I think that's a cool component to, the industry in general. And, love talking to guys about boats they build and the wood boats they build. And, there's a lot of other good boats out there, and we think we have a good one as well. And the guys in the shop, I can't say enough. We got a great crew that works their tail off, and, seeing what comes out, I can even slide over and show a little bit of, that's a dory profile. And, we use white ash to outfit the gunnels and a lot of the other interior components. And then, some of the other accent pieces of wood we can geek out on, some African mahogany or Hawaiian koa, and do different things to give your boat a little bit of personal flair and character. But then obviously in the performance of the boat comes down to the hull, and that's where you get that polymer.
Right. And that's a lot of your internal finish is all wood, right? Is that correct? And most all your boats is kind of, and folks can kind of choose the wood package that they want, but they all kind of have the wood finish inside.
They do. Yeah. Everything will have wood gunnels for sure. If durability, we see a lot of guides, as much as they love a good piece of clear coated wood, want something a little bit more durable when their boats can run 150 days a year. So we can Line-X everything and make that. It's a little bit more bomb proof, and we can do Line-X in different colors. And we actually have a boat, our guide boat, that we outfit some of the interior components with NRS hardware. And that's more than anything just a cost saving measure. So we make the boat a little bit more approachable. But about 80% of the boats that we see come through the shop, people are going with the wood pack. I think that's something that our customers naturally gravitate towards. And we love building them. There's some really sexy pieces of wood out there. And, as much as, we'll do anything that the customer wants, sometimes it's tough to cover up some of those pieces of wood, with a lot. Right. But, we're pretty flexible, and we let the customer drive the boat in regards to, building them their boat. Our boats last 20 years. So it's really important for us to dig in with that individual consumer and find out what they want, and then building them and kitting out the boat, specific to how they fish, who they fish with, where they fish, because they make that kind of long-term lifetime investment. So.
Right. And then just because of the longevity of your boats, I would imagine, if you have somebody who wants to get a new boat and they're already a Boulder Boat customer, it's probably not that hard to help them sell off their old boat. It seems like there's always that customer that's looking to get their first boat, and they don't mind something's a little pre-worn in because they're a little sticker shocked.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, so we talk about total cost of ownership all the time. And I mean, some of the boats Andy made 20 years ago, we have a boat up in Missoula, Montana, that was delivered to Joe Sowerby about 20 years ago, and it's still being commercially run, so for 20 years, 150 days on it. I mean, so that used boat, point being is those used boats have a lot of value, especially to a guy knowing that he's going to get that hull and something. And we've been, through COVID, what's been really fortunate, and I know this is true for, all boat manufacturers out there, but that used market's been super robust with just so many people saying, oh my gosh, I've been penned up for 2 months. I need to get outside now. I don't have 8 weeks to wait, or 6 weeks to wait, I'll buy whatever you have. So, and we love doing that too. Getting guys in boats. And if you get into used Boulder, I mean, you're part of the crew, you're part of the family. So we really encourage those folks to come down and see us at the shop, if we're available, which we usually are, to go fishing, come out and we'll pop onto the fork, right out here and fish the lower Colorado or something like that. We're big on community and getting to know the people that are rowing the boats. To me, that's big attraction, to being in the industry that we're in, is just the fact that it's easy to get to know all your customers, and generally you're pretty like-minded. You have
right for sure
on the water, chase a little adrenaline, drink a couple beers, pretty simple equation. So
right. Well, let's have Shiska key up that first video, and you can talk a little bit about that because it has some of the history element in there.
Dedication has led us here. Dedication to the art, dedication to the craft of building a perfect union between beauty and functionality. Built with discipline and patience, like all the elements of a perfect cast. Every piece of wood is hand-selected by a master craftsman. We use white ash, African mahogany, and bird's eye maple to offer a timeless style and grace. A Boulder boat starts with a handcrafted polymer hull for unmatched durability, agility, and silent approach to your next fishing line. We take pride in every individual step of our boat's construction. Every joint, every seam, every weld meets the highest quality standards. No boat rows as effortlessly or handles the tests of time like a custom drift boat from Boulder Boatworks. We build boats to last as long as the memories they help create, and proudly back the hulls for a lifetime. No matter your skill level, with minimal draft and innovative designs, anglers of all abilities can access parts of the river others can't, gliding silently over rocks where other boats loudly bash and scrape. When the river gets steep, gets skinny, gets bony, you'll take bold lines with confidence. Row it, and you'll know it.
Nice.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much so that's kind of your encapsulated intro piece that kind of gives you that nice bit of the craftsmanship of the shop, as well as tied in with a lot of your surrounding area.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, we're a little rough on the model section there, but you know, everybody that was in that boat's part of the company, and that's a big part of it. You know, so we sacrificed a little beauty for a little authenticity, I guess, in that video.
Right.
So, yeah, but
I know how that goes. You gotta shoot what you got. You know.
Exactly.
I'm always calling up buddies of mine, and it's like, hey, I'm doing a photo shoot. You got a couple hours free? You want to go get on the river?
Yeah, can you get up at 3 a.m.? We got to catch that early light. So,
I need someone to throw a tight loop in the back of the drift boat. Can you handle that? Come on.
Exactly. Yeah, we'll feed you beers afterwards and a couple burgers, right?
That's right.
Yeah, that's who we are. We called it a brand anthem. Just, you know, we wanted to show folks, you know, you saw obviously the elements, you know, the guys building and designing the boats in the shop, you know, where I'm at right now. And, you know, most of those shots, there's a couple up, I think, on the Yellowstone, I believe, when you saw that pretty iconic, you know, Montana view. And then when you saw Sopris in the back, that's the Roaring Fork. So that's home water for us, you know, but, and the boat that you saw in there is our Dory profile, which is the, you know, real flagship model. It's what Andy came up with 20 years ago. And it's, I'm going to kind of shift over here. That's a low profile Dory. And then we have a high pro as well, you know, kind of depending on how significant the water is that you're going to run, you know, versus obviously mitigating the wind with the lower profile. But pretty aggressive on the rocker, which makes that boat, you know, really agile, light. It's extremely nimble and easy to work. You know, when you're going down bigger gradient rivers, like you're going to see, you know, in a lot of Colorado and a lot of where we're at, you know, but then obviously cutting down, having that low pro, you're going to have what, you know, these aren't my words, you know, but some guys equate to a Ferrari out there. You know, you're going to really have a nimble, fast, agile boat that is extremely responsive to just a couple oar strokes, you know, when you're navigating the river. So it's a really nice, approachable boat for both the entry-level oarsmen, just in the fact that it's lightweight, you know, while you're getting down to your oar stroke rhythm, and you can't really hurt it, you know, because of that polymer material. As long as, you know, just to, you know, point at trouble, pull away and hit it straight, there's really nothing you can do to that boat. So it's a great boat to really kind of your feet wet. And I think, you know, Zach, you were hitting on it earlier, you know, with new consumers being interested in coming into the industry, you know, that's so exciting for all of us. And we really encourage it and think that, you know, a big part of, you know, why we're where we're at and building boats where we're at is just we have the ability to take, a novice oarsman, out on the Roaring Fork, out on the lower Colorado, which gives them two pretty distinctly different pieces of water. And, if you buy a boat from us, we got no problem, getting on the sticks with you for 2 or 3 days. We just had a guy, my buddy Russ Catterley, came out from Auburn. He's a professor at Auburn, and his wife made him buy a boat because she figured that's the only way that he would retire. So,
there you go. That's a good way to start it.
Yeah, exactly. Usually it's the inverse, having to sell the wife on the boat, but she sold him on it, and he came out. We spent 3 days on the water, really teaching him and his go-to fishing buddy, Dave, how to safely navigate the river. By day 3, we can touch on, fishing lines a little bit. But it means a lot to us to take that time with our customers and give them that experience, because when we sell a boat, we don't want them to be intimidated by the water, but we want them to be able to go out and safely navigate that water so that they're there more frequently and they're using that boat at a high frequency on a variety of different waters. So some we're really into and really promote to get that novice angler in the industry, to come and see us, buy a boat, and we'll get you taken care of. But then when you scale up, and you talk to, the professional guys that are rowing our boat, with it being as lightweight as it is, it just can really put a lot of longevity to, a professional career in the industry, get you out more frequently just because of how lightweight and easy it is to handle that boat. But, that was the boat we built for 18 years. And then before I get into the skiff profile, what's over here, maybe I'll really touch quick on, Zach, you asked me maybe touch quick on the new ownership of the company.
Yeah. If we want to talk a little bit about that, and just real quick, you're talking about lightweight boats, how, that extends the life expectancy of a guide, where they're
Sure.
definitely going to, they start investing in their oars. The same thing where, they initially, when they started, they might've got a used boat and they just kind of started rowing it with whatever was in the boat. And then once they realized that, there is actually a lighter swing weight option out there, then, they basically kind of go, a lot of them come to it from the fact that their bodies are just getting beat up and they want to have something a little bit easier. And all of a sudden they get into a nicer set of oars with a lighter swing weight, and they realize that they can easily row more hours in the day. They can guide more days in the week. And in turn, that equates to them being able to do what they love to do for a longer period of time. And the whole thing with a lighter boat is the same thing, where, basically once you start kind of fine tuning, what your craft is and what you're rowing it with, that really makes a difference. And a lot of the long time, seasoned guides really understand that. And, you're kind of selling that concept to the first time person, where it's like, this is an investment. You're going to have it for a long period of time. So
No doubt.
Let's go ahead and dive into a little bit of the new ownership that's currently on play with the company, and then we'll wrap into the skiff model there.
Cool. Can I hit on that? You brought up a couple things on the oars and investment, and it's, I couldn't agree more. As I see the sport, when you get in a boat, it's a lot like skiing, it's a lot like hunting. It's both the Indian and the arrow. And when you get somebody that comes in new to the industry, or investing in good equipment is a big deal, right? And it'll make you really appreciate the sport that much more, be that much more effective, when you're on the sticks. And, we're big believers. We only stock the Sawyer, wooden profile line, high end, just because, that's the engine in the boat. That's, what's in your hands all day. It's a vital component, slowing that boat down and navigating the river. And, we just think it's, such a huge component to the performance of our boat. It's the performance of the oar, and, they're just married. And, we're big, the sticks that I have up there is that I know we're some of the only ones that run them, but that, smoker, Dynalite oar with the white ash, I love it because it's lightweight, nimble, but, we got a lot of guys that believe in that, square top, the Doug fir with the X-weave wrap, shoal cut and wide blade, the drill, it's, you talk to 10 guys and they have 10 different opinions, but, It's big on the feel of the boat. It comes down to the oar that people have in the hand. So, Sawyer is such an important relationship to us, and we appreciate it. So,
absolutely. And the white ash ties in nicely to a lot of the finish in the boat as well, so.
For sure.
That doesn't hurt.
Exactly. Yeah, a little added
Absolutely.
bonus. So, we had a couple years ago, Boulder, we had me and a couple guys had the opportunity to come in and, purchase the company. It was for all of us, a dream job and a great opportunity. I'd had a cousin, Dan McMahon, who's guided out of a Boulder boat for the last 10 years. So was familiar with the brand and rowing the boats and, a chance to transition, from construction materials to fishing was, the biggest no-brainer slam dunk choice, one could ever make. It's compensation comes in a variety of different formats, right? It's not just all monetary, but it's the people you get to spend time with and interact and have professional relationships with. It's, the environment in the shop, it's where you live, and, partnerships
Right.
like y'all is really what attracted us to it. And, when we came in, just understanding, who we were in the boats was important, but, we quickly understood that there's an appetite in the industry, for new models and different things that we can do with the material. And that really led us to, in 2018, we held what we called a Skiff Summit and brought in Moose Hofer from Crested Butte, really got some voice to the customer from a lot of longtime Boulder guides up in the Missoula area that are running the Smith and all the other local Missoula water, from, the Clark's route. And they are all just, we're pushing saying, hey, it's time, that we want a skiff profile with a Boulder material, just a marriage of the two would just be a significant, really effective boat, and particularly for the Northern Rockies and the Western slope of Colorado, Michigan and the rest of the Midwest and the Southeast. So we sat down, we brought Andy Toohey back, came in, hung out with us for a year, kind of on a consultant basis. We got Trevor Hansen, our production lead, involved. And, I was there, and as well as Tim, one of my other partners, we were kind of more just shoulder crows with throwing out a million good and bad ideas and then telling them to go figure it out. Right. So,
right.
Good
cocktail napkin, you give them the cocktail napkin drawing. It's like, this is what we came up with.
Yeah. It's the sales guys are like, oh, we told them we can make this. Right. So, it's kind of running dialogue and conversation and point of contention, all but in good fun and jest, amongst the crew at the shop. And what we landed on was the skiff. And basically what it is, before we show that profile, to state some of the obvious, the skiff boat is much lower profile. Instead of coming to the pronounced bow in the front, you had a squared off front, which opens up a ton of real estate on the interior. You have a little bit more width on the transom as well. So that all equates to fishability on the interior of the boat and making a lot of space to add features and benefits that are going to make that a more fishable boat or more comfortable boat to fish out of.
Right.
And then dropping that rocker profile gives us a lot more wet line. So all that chine is engaged in the water to mitigate wind, crosswinds when they're coming, to help that boat be super stable. It's a really predictable boat. When you're on a fishing line, it tracks really well. It's extremely responsive. It's fast in the sense, and when I say fast, it means that essentially because you're back rowing, a fishing vessel trying to slow it down, it just means that it's easier to stop, maneuver, into your specific fishing lines or navigating, significant components in the river. So,
right. And something that, we don't see a lot of skiffs out west here. Maybe just for our viewers, kind of go over kind of the type of water that this is more utilized for versus the Dory or the McKenzie Riverboat type design. Just kind of go into that a little bit with folks.
Yeah. So Dory profiles are going to be good higher up in the mountains, you know, for lack of a better term, and more gradient water, you know, where you have more significant water and you want that high profile, quick, agile boat to safely navigate that river. When you get down on into heavier water and more of the plains, you know, and lower slopes, then your biggest issue is wind. So when you get up on water, you know, and you see a lot of that in the Northern Rockies where, you know, a lot of the rivers that, you know, folks are navigating and fishing up there are more in a plains component, you know, with a lot of the mountain ranges being further spread out instead of tightly you know, packed together like the Rockies are down here in Colorado. So when you get into those rivers that are heavy water, you know, big wind, you know, rivers like, you know, the Snake, the Bitterroot, the Yellowstone, you know, the Smith, you know, that's all skiff water. And, you know, granted, you know, you can take a dory profile out there any day of the week, high pro, and do a great job, you know, fishing and navigating that river. But, you know, there's just some advantages to the skiff that you're getting on that water, and you don't need that high side to keep your anglers and yourself dry and safe. You know, you don't need that aggressive rocker profile because some of the moves that you're making throughout the river are a little bit slower, more predictable, you know, not, you know, tight when you're in a more gradient river higher up in the mountains, kind of working out through white water. So, yeah, that's,
Let's,
you know,
I think so. I think you have a video that kind of showcases this boat, and we just
yeah,
can pull that up. There's still quite a bit of rocker to that boat, huh?
Yeah, that boat's actually eating waves a lot better than we thought. I've rode it almost exclusively on the fork here all year. And granted, you know, there's some specific areas in the river stretches that I won't go down in that, but it's a little bit more aggressive on the rocker profile than you see for a lot of skiffs in the industry. We landed on that just because we wanted it to still feel like a Boulder. You know, we wanted to have that kind of, you know, really aggressive, quick, agile, you know, feel that a lot of consumers have become, you know, familiar with. So we kept that little bit of rocker, and we're pretty jazzed about it. You know, we're, you know, running it in heavier, you know, bigger water than we expected that we would be. You know, so yeah, we're pretty excited about how, you know, the geometry played out in that boat right now.
Yeah, that's good, because I mean, you know, we all noticed that you know, we may intend a specific product to be utilized in a specific way, but we all know that our customer doesn't really necessarily take that into consideration. It's like, oh yeah, this is a class 3 boat, you know, but my buddy can pull this off. We can run that stuff. We can run that. You know, we've seen a lot of that with like the real little boats, you know, because a lot of the these little inflatable 1-person, 2-person crafts, you know, they were first designed really more for availability and flexibility to like the single angler or the retired person that just needs something they could get out of their RV or easily out of the back of the truck and onto the water. And now, you know, those little boats get into the guide element, and next thing you know, it's a cooler, a dry box, 2 anglers and a rower and a dog. And it's like, wait a minute, that thing was not designed to take everything that you put in the drift boat. You know, it's like basically that's a nimble little craft. But definitely, you know, we know that all of our users definitely push the envelope, so to speak, pretty regularly.
Yeah, you know. And they carry the Super Soaker bilge pump system. You know, they're invincible, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about your guys' production. You know, I'm pretty familiar with our boat manufacturers, and you know, so you guys probably are building boats to order, And I mean, what's a regular timeline for non-COVID times
Yeah, for
for
sure.
somebody that's ordering a boat from you?
Yeah, our lead times fluctuate, anywhere from 4 to 8 weeks, kind of depending on the season. In our industry, really people start thinking boats and fishing January 1st. So we start to cycle up January, Q1, Q2. Then generally once you get into the throes of the fishing season, people are pretty fit, kitted out and what they're going to run that year. So we'll cycle down, which is nice. It gives us the opportunity to spend some more time on the water in non-COVID years, right? We've been rocking and rolling through this. And, Q4, we will do what we can to build out some inventory. A lot of consumers, which we appreciate, will come to us and say, what's your ideal build? So if we have a yard full of a few boats that we can say, hey, this is how we'd run it. These are the boats that we'd recommend. We're prepared to have a boat for them, in the spring. But like you said, the majority of it's made to order. And
right. So can you guys actually build ahead on hulls? So you can build ahead on hulls, and then you basically have different finish out packages that you can do to give that customization for the customer.
Absolutely. And it's a big thing that we're pushing for. You'll notice in that skiff video, there was no casting braces. And it was to show everybody we made that boat to be extremely modular. So you have the ability to take casting braces in or out. You have the ability to buy that boat and invest in a casting brace or a rod tray downstream. So if you just want to get in that boat, base model and, purchase a new feature, every year or couple years, or, press your significant other for, a good Christmas gift or something like that. We wanted that boat to be really easy to dial in and out and make it the right boat for your specific trip. So, set it up for your guide program. But when you want to go carp fishing, or go to a lake application, you can take that front casting brace in, key in a casting deck. The boat has the ability to do that. So to your point, of building some inventory, we're definitely there. And if we, we're already we're booked out, right now, already through the fall, which I think is pretty consistent with a lot of boat manufacturers out there. But, if we get an opportunity, we're definitely going to dive in and build, a handful of skiffs and
right, try and catch up a little bit.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, we're before we wrap things up, I do want to talk a little bit about just kind of what's going on in your area. We mentioned a little bit that there's a forest fire that's nearby. Just maybe kind of tell folks just what is going on in your area, and so they're a little aware of what you guys are going through. It's like we've seen people dealing with COVID, and they got hurricanes coming through and tornadoes, and there was some big wind event in Iowa the other day. So it's like just keep throwing it at us. And now out here in the West, we've got forest fires, and evidently you guys got one quite close. So let's talk a little bit about that before we wrap things up here. So what's going on in your neck of the woods there?
Yeah, man, we're the Grizzly Creek forest fire just lit up on Monday. I was actually fishing that section of the river on Sunday, the day before. It's a beautiful section through Glenwood Canyon, but pretty gnarly terrain. And on Monday morning, unfortunately, in the median of the road there, fire started either from, a flicked cigarette butt or dragging chains, depending on who you're asking right now. But nonetheless, we, the significance of that fire just escalated, exponentially. It's moved from, 1,300 square acres on Tuesday, 24 hours after it started, to today. I think it's in 6,500 or something in that neck of the woods. So it's pretty burly, and it's really aggressive terrain. So, we've been fortunate. There's, the best firefighters and wildcat crews in the nation are out there right now, kicking some ass. I know they are, and working their tail off, and all the people here locally are extremely appreciative of what those guys are doing. But as it stands right now, the Glenwood Springs is in somewhat peril. Their power plant's in jeopardy right now. And, when this all goes down, first and foremost, human safety's on the line right now, and that's most important. But the lower section of the Colorado River is probably in some jeopardy after this with some slides and runoff. They're already starting to have some pretty significant slides with really gradient terrain up there. So coming out of this, once the guys, get it contained and we get some snow here and everything settles down and moves on, we'll just band together as a local angling community and do what we have to do for the river and, the local community and people around here. But right now it's big time support for the firefighters and a big, hoorah for what they're doing, because they're flying pains, over the shop, pretty consistently from sun up to sundown. So, all power to them. They're doing great.
Yeah, and we deal with a lot of that out here in the West, and so we're definitely familiar with it. And we've been fairly fortunate, knock on wood, that it hasn't been too bad. But definitely, it's something that we're always aware of. We get lightning strikes that'll start fires, and then they just rage. But
yeah,
well, appreciate it, Sean. I definitely like you coming on board with us and chatting with us about your guys' lines and your products a little bit. And we do want to throw up your contact info. If you guys are interested in getting into a Boulder boat or finding out more about them, please check them out online. And we'll throw up their phone number there and their email contact. And you can definitely reach out to the Boulder Boat Works crew. And definitely want to appreciate everybody out there building boats. And there's definitely a little bit of a backlog. So yeah, if you have gotten that itch to get out in the outdoors, now's the time to put that order in and get into the wilderness, get into the rivers, and find a way to kind of explore your backyard with your family and friends. And definitely, this is the time to support local shops in your area, support your local guides and outfitters. Everybody's always very, very thankful for the firefighters kind of protecting our communities, and the communities come back together once the fires are suppressed. So definitely want to thank everybody for coming out, and we will see you on the river.
Yeah. Thanks, Zach. Thanks, Shishka.